rocky for some of those other stations, maybe with something along those lines. Secrets is definitely one of Dave's favorite songs. Dave, what do you make of that Secrets version?
I like that Secrets version. I mean, it's subtle. The keyboards are in the background. It's not like Jump.
Right.
It's not like where, pardon the pun, it jumps out at you. It's subtle.
Right.
It's mixed nice in the background. But again, it's similar in vein to that. It's a single mix where they're trying to make it more poppier. So now we have Midwest John and Midwest Ron.
Right.
Man, I'm going to mess that up. But to John's point, I think he's got a valid observation in that I think they just took the background keyboard part, bumped it up front, got rid of the solo, and that's what they did. I think he's onto something.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's totally right. Letter number 5 comes from Shannon the Dude. And he says, I needed to get out of the house on this sunny morning, so I drove around for no reason listening to the pod. I got some donuts and coffee, and it all made me feel refreshed. Of course, there's still 4 hours left of the episode. I hope you guys are well. And then he wrote back and said, best episode yet. Stay safe. Shannon the Dude. Shannon, thank you so much. You've been such a great supporter. He's always writing in. He's always listening. He's always had nice things to say. We hope these episodes that we're doing, they're extra long. This one's extra long. Dave's not used to extra long, things that are extra long. So, we have to break him in a little bit. See if he's still awake. You awake there,
Yeah,
bud?
no,
Right,
no, I'm just waiting for you to be done.
Okay.
Just waiting.
So we hope.
But thank you for the kind words, Shannon.
Yes.
We do appreciate it. And we do realize everybody is quarantined in. So what else is anybody doing? What else are we doing? So what the heck? Just keep the podcast going until from 5 to February.
That's right.
As Dave would say.
That's right. And we have these episodes which we have been, they're like Lords of the Rings sides. Hopefully they provide some comfort. We don't always say to listen to them all together. Break them up, man. Break them up. Listen to the news at one time, the mailbag another time, the discussion at one time, the interview another time. Stretch it out over the month. It doesn't have to be one sitting. Or you could binge it. You binge it. For example, I happen to know that Midwest Ron likes to listen to each episode 6 times. I'm kidding. He doesn't.
I was like, what?
Breaking Ron's chops. Breaking Ron's chops. He probably doesn't listen to it 6 times. Speaking of 6, we are on to letter number 6, and that comes from a gentleman by the name of Felipe. Okay, great. So, greetings, Dave and Dave, longtime listener. I like every podcast, and this is my first-time letter. And what a treat it has been. Like you, I had tickets to the David Lee Roth show in Vegas, but alas, they will have to wait. To my thanks and question, thanks for a great interview with Greg Renoff, and I just received my book in the mail the other day, so your podcast with him was a great primer for the book. As is revisiting a classic first 6 Van Halen CDs, as well as Dave's solo, of course, which I often do anyway. My question is, have you ever heard of the Van Halen musical interpretations by the Bird and the Bee? I think you have. You mentioned them on the podcast. One Dave didn't like them. That's fine, but silly, because I think all Van Halen is good Van Halen. But did you notice that Mr. Greg Renoff is getting name-checked at the intro for the Hot for Teacher song? And do you know who's doing that riffing? And it is Beck, believe it or not. And he says, thanks for sharing your time and passion for Van Halen. Well, yes, we are aware of them. We discussed them a while ago when it came out. And yes, Greg is name-checked. Very cool. Beck is quite an artist, so I like Beck, and that's pretty cool for Greg to be name-checked by Beck. And that's great, and we appreciate your enthusiasm for the cast. Do you have anything to say, Dave, in defense as to why you don't like those versions?
No, just not my style of music, that's all. Okay. I don't necessarily agree that just because somebody covers Van Halen, that makes it a good song.
Right, yeah, okay.
It's just a personal preference. I mean, if you like the band, and a lot of people do, I think they got a lot of good press from it. Mm-hmm. So hats off to you if that's what you like. That's great.
Yeah, it's very kitschy. So letter number 7. Hey guys, I have a story and a question. Back in 2004, I was lucky enough to score a VIP package for the first show of the Sammy reunion in Greensboro, North Carolina, back when they didn't charge you thousands of dollars. The VIP group got to arrive hours early before the show and get a backstage tour and all-you-could-eat and drink buffet, away from the band and crew, of course. But the highlight was the sound check. They seated us all in the stands near the rear of the venue, and when the band came out, Eddie spoke into the mic and he said, "Why are you all so far away? Come down to the stage." And we all took off running. We were treated to a 30-minute show before the show. They played Jump with Sam singing, and then they did some more songs without him, and I guess he had to save his voice. And I can't recall the rest of the playlist, but it was amazing to get to watch the band play to a crowd of 50 or so people in the empty arena. No meet and greets were done, though, but it was still a fantastic time. My question is, pick one audio/video performance that encapsulates each era of Van Halen for you. For me, it's the Oakland 81 performance of Unchained. It's them at the height of their powers with Roth. And for Van Hagar, it's the 5150 performance off Live Without a Net. Scott Sullivan. Okay, that's pretty cool. And what about you, Dave? Do you have any specific,
I don't know. I think his selections are right on the money.
Okay, yeah, I like them.
I know that sounds like a cop-out. I mean, obviously we're biased towards Unchained.
Yeah.
But I think 5150 is arguably the greatest live performance on that DVD. That was also Van Hagar at the height of their powers. So I think he has truly captured the essence of the band with those two song selections.
Yeah, I have to say that's for sure. I can't argue with either one of these selections. I have to tell you, I kind of took it the wrong way, Scott. I apologize. So I was thinking more audio than video. So I was thinking of some bootlegs. So the Van Halen, David Lee Roth era, I happen to have an affection for the Die Laughing Pasadena 1977 bootleg, as well as the Where's the Beef, Dave, from Madison Square Garden from 1984. And the reason why I picked those is because the Die Laughing, the first Van Halen bootleg I ever got. I got it on vinyl, believe it or not, and later got it on CD. That is, I think, a beautiful sounding recording. It really captures the essence and energy of Van Halen right before they took off. And Where's the Beef, Dave, is Van Halen in 1984 in Madison Square Garden. And the reason why I picked that is because I should have been at that fucking show. And it burns my ass. And it burns my ass that I wasn't. And if I could go back in my DeLorean, believe you me, I'd be there. So, and Hagar, yeah, I happen to love Live Without a Net. First time I saw Van Halen was a 5150 tour. So that was my first live experience with Van Halen. So that is definitely really, really well done. I think it was incredibly filmed. It captured the energy and the excitement of that band at that time. And I also love the bootleg Van Halen Rocks the Beer Hall from the 1995 Balance Tour. So that was fantastic. So check those out. This just give you a little taste for sure. A little back and forth there. And we on to letter number 8. And it comes from Brian Costanza. And I know you love that last name, Dave. Remember?
Can't stand you.
That's right. Number 8, Brian Costanza. And it says, Hi, Daves. I'm just finishing up the latest episode about the Ted Templeman book. Tremendous episode. Very good analysis. An interview with Greg Renoff. And I always felt that when Sammy joined the band, he had a responsibility to honor the full catalog. And I am trying to follow the idea of the Claudio story being a bit made up. So you are saying that Sammy got wind of the situation, smelled blood in the water, and contacted Eddie on his own. Not Eddie calling him from the shop, told his wife and Ted both that he thought, I bet they are going to call me. Crazy stuff. Always a great show. Brian Costanza. Okay, well, of course, I know Dave loves me going off on this. Well, I'll tighten this up here. I think that Sam kind of angled his way in there. I don't think it was as sweet and innocent as Claudio giving Ed Sam's number because Ed saw Sam's car in Claudio's shop. I think it makes a little nice PR story. What exactly happened, I don't know because I was not there, but I think Sam saw an opportunity and swooped in. Ted said in his book that he had mentioned it to Sam and that he also compared Sam to a guy who cozied up to a woman who just separated from her husband. So, plus, it's the way his manager came in and became Van Halen's manager. It's interesting how Sam just came in and took over. I mean, he literally did. There is a quote from Sam in an interview. He said, kind of like, when I was in Van Halen, I was running that band, and I realized that when Roth was in the band, he was running the band. It was just a weird comment that he made, but I think he was running shit. We will discuss this more in the future on other topics, and we'll back it up with more factual things here. Sam definitely came in and really took the reins, and I think because Van Halen was sort of like in a vulnerable state, they didn't have their manager, and they were sort of very, very vulnerable when Sam came in. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think he did something wrong, because obviously he was successful with the band. He did well with the band. He did right by the band. But I think he really came in and took the hell over. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah.
But they didn't mind that because Dave was the guy in charge before.
Right.
Now they didn't have anybody in charge anymore. I mean, their infrastructure had left with Dave, right? Their producer was gone.
Right.
They already fired their manager. So they had these huge holes. They had these gaps. I always have to laugh when you think that it's some kind of conspiracy theory that it's impossible for you to accept the fact that Sam got in the band simply because they had the same guy working on their cars.
You don't think it's a little, storybookish?
Yeah, but it's like, it could be just like that. Now, did Sam see opportunity written on the wall, and did he go for it? Sure he did. He's not an idiot. He went for it. Absolutely. Now, maybe he heard it from Ted, and then, it could have been like he heard it from Ted in passing, and then he hears it from Claudio. And if you start hearing it more than once, and then you're like, all right, I've just heard it from two people. Like, this guy's going to call me, And maybe he was, maybe when he was talking to Claudio, he's like, oh, yeah, they left the band, so you should give him my number. Maybe Sam left that part of the story out. Or who knows, maybe Ted really subconsciously wanted him in there, and he threw in a word. I mean, who the heck knows? Like I said, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I really think, to say that there was something else going on and that we haven't heard the truth by now, even after all these people have written books over the years, I really think it was just something so simple and out of left field that Claudio knew both these guys, and that's how Sam got the gig. I don't have any problem accepting that. Did Sam come in and swoop in and see that these guys needed focus and they needed a manager, and Sam brought in his manager? Sure. I mean, Sam had said when he joined the band, Alex had a drinking problem, and Ed wasn't as bad as his brother was at that time, but they really did not care about the business end. Mike, they didn't let have an opinion one way or the other.
Right.
They didn't exactly, apparently, at the time, have the best deal with the record company.
Right.
So, yeah, they needed somebody to come in and focus on that. So that's why Sam was the guy who made the set list without the old Van Halen song.
Unbelievable.
What does that tell you? I mean, we complain about that all the time. How did that happen?
It's amazing.
Because they let him lead.
Yep.
And it wasn't until Ed Loeffler died when he was able to keep those guys going and make all sorts of deals. Mm-hmm. And Ed was starting to get sober. And then he started questioning, well, what's this? What's that? Sam, why do you have this side deal? And all this sort of stuff. And that's when Ed decided to get a manager from his side of the family, and that was the beginning of the end.
But I just didn't think it was so pat. Like, Ed just happens to bring in his car, and he's like, oh, Claudio, whose car is that? He's like, it's the Sammy Hagar's car. He want him to call it Sammy, and you make him put it in the band. Oh, you got his number? And he's like, hey, Sammy, you want to join the band? He's like, hey, what's going on, man? I don't think it's just that.
Look, it would not surprise me if the part of the story that was left out was that Sam brings his car to the shop, and he's like, oh, Eddie Van Halen was here the other day, and he's looking for a new singer. And Sam's sitting there going, you know what? That is the second time I heard that, because I heard that from Ted Templeman the other day.
Right.
You know what, Claudio? The next time you talk to Ed, when Ed comes back to pick up his car, why don't you throw my name in there and just see what he says?
And he throws a hundy on the ground. He throws a hundy on the ground.
Right. I'll throw you, I'll bring all my cars in, Claudio, if you do that, right? I mean, that would not surprise me. But really, I think the basic essence of the story is really how it went down. And I really wish you would just move on and accept that.
Okay,
that's what I wish.
He peels off a few hundreds. He's like, Mr. Sammy, whatever you want, Mr. Sammy. And before anybody says anything, Dave and I are both Italian, so it's okay. Anyway, so in a very quick nutshell, and then I'm going to leave it alone, okay? In a very quick nutshell.
You're never going to leave it alone. Don't make promises you can't keep.
You're right. What the hell? Let's break open this wound. No, I'll tell you what I really think in a very quick summation. And you're going to think I'm batshit crazy, but this is what I really think, okay? And this is just an opinion. This is just an